The Residency, Part 1. The year was 2011, and Malachi Westfield had become an expert in keeping up appearances. At 20 years old, he was still living at home with his parents, but he told himself it was temporary, a necessary step on his path to independence. He wanted to move out, to have his own space where no one asked questions like, "How's the job search going?" or, "Did you hear back from that interview?" He hated those questions, not because they were mean-spirited, but because they were proof that everyone saw what he didn't want to admit. He was stuck. His parents weren't the problem. They were supportive in the way only overly invested parents could be, hovering just enough to make him feel both loved and suffocated. His dad would drop hints about the value of persistence and putting yourself out there, while his mom alternated between offering unsolicited advice and baking muffins to soften the blow of rejection. "Any luck today?" she asked one evening, setting a warm blueberry muffin in front of him. "Nope." Malachi didn't look up from his laptop. "Maybe you should—" "I'm fine, Mom." His tone was sharper than he intended, but he didn't apologize. That night, Malachi retreated to the basement, his sanctuary from the endless cycle of well-meaning suggestions. It wasn't much, just an old couch, a hand-me-down TV, and his laptop perched on a wobbly coffee table, but it was his space. As he scrolled through job boards, his frustration grew. Every listing either required experience he didn't have or offered hours he couldn't work. He clicked out of one posting and leaned back with a sigh, his gaze drifting to a banner ad that had popped up on the side of the screen. Feeling stuck? Overwhelmed? Ready to transform your life? The ad blinked softly, its clean design almost soothing. Malachi snorted. "Yeah, right. Join the Residency. Free, no obligations. Change starts here." The absurdity of it made him laugh. He clicked on the ad, half expecting it to lead to a scammy website trying to sell him overpriced vitamins. Instead, it was surprisingly minimal. Name, age, email. "No way this is real," he muttered, typing in his information more as a joke than anything else. He hit submit, closed the tab, and didn't give it another thought. 3 days later, Malachi was at a convenience store, gathering his usual haul: ramen, a pack of blue gelatin cups, and a bag of chips. It was his go-to stress kit, perfect for binging Deep Space Nine and ignoring the ever-growing pile of rejection emails. He was debating the merits of adding a candy bar when he felt a tap on his shoulder. Malachi Westfield? He turned to see 3 men in black uniforms standing far too close. They looked out of place under the harsh fluorescent lights, their polished shoes and sunglasses giving them the air of low-budget secret agents. Yeah?" Before he could process what was happening, one of them grabbed his arm. "Hey, what the—" A cloth pressed against his face and the world tilted. His last thought before everything went dark was, "This can't actually be happening." Malachi woke up in a bed that was too nice to belong to him. The mattress was soft, the sheets crisp and cool against his skin. The room smelled faintly of lavender, and the walls were painted a soothing pastel blue. For a moment, he thought he might be in a hospital. Then he moved, and the faint crinkle beneath him shattered the illusion. He looked down and froze. The t-shirt he was wearing wasn't his. Neither was the thick, white diaper taped snugly around his waist. What the hell? He swung his legs over the side of the bed, the crinkling growing louder with every movement. The padding between his legs made walking awkward, forcing him into a bow-legged shuffle as he stumbled toward the door. Before he reached it, it opened. "Good morning, Malachi," said a calm, cheerful voice. A tall woman in a navy blue uniform stepped into the room, a clipboard tucked under her arm. She smiled at him, her expression warm but unsettlingly composed. "Who are you? Where am I?" "My name is Linda," she said. "I'm one of the program coordinators. Welcome to the Residency." "The what?" "The Residency," she repeated, her tone soothing. "You signed up for this program." "I didn't sign up for this." Malachi gestured at himself, his voice rising. Linda's smile didn't falter. "You signed up to transform your life, This is part of that process. This is insane. I didn't mean it. I was joking. Linda's gaze softened, as if she'd heard this argument 1,000 times before. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones we don't realize we're making. After Linda left, Malachi sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the spotless floor. The crinkling sound beneath him was maddening, a constant reminder of how surreal this situation was. Determined to make sense of it, he stood and ventured into the hallway. The corridor stretched endlessly in both directions, its pale blue-gray walls and bright artificial lighting giving it a disorienting uniformity. Doors lined the walls, each identical and unmarked, adding to the eerie atmosphere. As he walked, the faint rustling of his diaper seemed to echo, amplifying his self-consciousness. A few other residents passed by all around his age, dressed in the same strange attire. They moved with an unsettling calm, offering polite nods, but no words. Eventually, he reached a set of double doors that led into a large dining hall. The room was bright and orderly, with long tables and identical trays of food placed at evenly spaced intervals. The air smelled faintly of something savory, though Malachi couldn't quite place it. A staff member directed him to an empty seat where a tray awaited him. On it sat a single dish filled with a blue, gelatinous substance. "What is this?" Malachi asked, poking at the food with a spoon. "It's perfectly balanced nutrition," the staff member replied with a polite smile. "I promise it's good for you." Malachi frowned. The other residents were already eating, their expressions blank but content. With a sigh, he took a cautious bite. The texture was strange, smooth but slightly sticky, and the taste was oddly sweet, like a mix of fruit and something synthetic. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't exactly appetizing either. "You need to eat," said a familiar voice. Malachi looked up to see Linda standing nearby, her clipboard in hand. Her calm smile didn't waver. "I'm not a child," he muttered, pushing the tray away. "No, but you are here to change," she said gently. "And that starts with taking care of yourself. Please eat." Reluctantly, Malachi finished the dish. The food settled heavily in his stomach, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the entire room was watching him. After lunch, Malachi returned to his room, hoping for a moment of privacy. But as soon as he sat on the bed, he froze. The diaper beneath him felt damp. His face burned with humiliation. How could this have happened? He didn't even remember. A knock at the door startled him. "Come in," he said, his voice shaky. Linda entered, her expression as calm as ever. She glanced at him, immediately noticing his discomfort. "It's okay," she said gently. "Accidents happen. That's why we're here. To help." "I don't need help," Malachi snapped, his tone sharper than intended. Linda didn't flinch. Instead, she walked to a cabinet in the corner and retrieved a fresh diaper, wipes, and powder. "This isn't happening," Malachi muttered, burying his face in his hands. "Lie back," Linda said softly, her tone leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, Malachi obeyed, his heart pounding as he lay on the bed. The crinkling sound beneath him felt deafening. Linda worked efficiently, her movements practiced and nonchalant. The cool sensation of the wipes made him squirm, and the faint scent of baby powder filled the air as she dusted it over his skin. "There," she said, taping the fresh diaper snugly into place. "All done." Malachi sat up, avoiding her gaze. "This is humiliating." "It's not meant to be," Linda replied. "This is part of learning to let go. You can't do everything on your own, Malachi." Later that evening, Malachi sat on the edge of his bed, replaying the events of the day in his mind. The crinkling of his diaper was a constant reminder of how little control he had here. A knock at the door broke his spiraling thoughts. "Come in," he muttered. Linda entered carrying a warm blanket. She sat beside him, her presence calm and steady. "I know this is hard for you," she said gently. "You think," Malachi snapped, but there was no real anger in his voice. Linda unfolded the blanket, draping it over his shoulders. "You've spent so much time proving you don't need anyone. she said softly. But what if letting go isn't weakness? What if it's just trust? He didn't respond, his throat tightening with unspoken emotions. Linda shifted closer, wrapping an arm around him. At first, Malachi tensed, the crinkling of his diaper amplifying his self-consciousness. But Linda's steady presence began to dissolve his resistance. "You're not alone, Malachi," she said. "Not anymore." For the first time in what felt like years, he allowed himself to lean on someone else. Linda hummed softly, her warmth lulling him into a fragile sense of safety. As his eyes grew heavy, Malachi drifted off to sleep, the faint crinkling sound fading into the background, no longer a source of shame, but a strange, unexpected comfort. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Mommy Sarah's Story Time. If you enjoyed the stories, please support the channel by liking and subscribing. Remember, my channel is not monetized, and I write most of the content myself. On occasions when I don't, it's sourced through emails from trusted contacts. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you're able to, consider making a donation to support our channel. Your support means a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you.